All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I can't even fool you guys anymore and say that I don't know what I'm doing. When we first started the Not an Accident podcast, I had no idea what this was going to turn into. And now we have episode 29. I'm attorney Kevin, by the way. I never introduced myself, but we have an incredible guest. Andrea Gonzmart. Did I pronounce that? I probably butchered that.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. You nailed it.
I thought I butchered that way worse than I did. Of the Columbia Restaurant Group. So you guys have been an absolute staple in Tampa Bay and surrounding communities since 1905. There's probably very few Tampians, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Tampanians. I don't know. There's a few different Tampanos.
Yeah, we'll stay away from tampons. But I would say probably 70-80% of Tampa Bay is probably eaten at one of your restaurants or some significant capacity. So all that being said, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell me, how did it kind of, you're fifth generation, which is incredible to keep it in the family. I think it looked like you guys had 7 of the Columbia Group locations, and then you had Eulalie and a couple other different, cafes and things like that?
We've got 13 restaurants in total.
Okay.
So we've got our 5 Columbia, so the state of Florida. We've got Ybor. I always have to do them in order. Ybor, Sarasota, St. Augustine, Sand Key, Clearwater.
Yep.
And then Celebration, which is Orlando, Kissimmee.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got a Columbia Cafe, which is the Tampa Bay History Center. A Columbia Cafe at TIA.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is just a smaller version of the Columbia.
Yeah,
so you can get the Cuban sandwich, the 1905 salad. We have Eulalie in Tampa Heights.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a goody at the airport still.
Yep.
So, but we used to have one street side. I feel like Chacha Coconuts in Sarasota, which we used to have more, but now we just have the one next to the Columbia on San Armand Circle. And then Casa Santo Stefano, our Sicilian concept.
That's amazing. So a lot of moving parts. And then you guys have, I believe, a distribution model as well with some of your kind of star products, like the 1905 salad dressing. I know we've gotten at Publix and things like that.
So we expanded by doing the retail options.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have the 1905 salad dressing that we actually have a newer version coming out that's going to taste
incredible.
More like the one that you can get in the restaurant. People say, why doesn't it taste just like it? Once you have to pasteurize it, it's got to be shelf stable. It can't
course.
taste. And it's so easy to make at home. Sometimes I tell people, why don't you just make it at home? Make it the day before and you're good to go. We've got our sangria mix, which is actually amazing. I used to make my own sangria. I used to make my own sangria from scratch. During COVID, I did a little segment that we put on Facebook, and I made it with the mix. And I was like, forget it. I'm not making my own sangria ever again because it makes it so easy. We've got our Cuban roast coffee, American roast coffee, and then our hot sauce, which is pretty dynamite. It's not too spicy. It's really just flavorful.
And that usually you try to serve with the
black beans.
The cakes de congrejo. I probably butchered that.
That's
the crab
good.
Cakes.
You got to give yourself more credit. Empanadas. It's good for everything.
So obviously I've experienced your restaurant many a time. So how did it kind of start? Or give me a rundown from, and keep it as brief as you would like. Obviously, this could be a much longer story of where you started to where you are now.
Me personally or the company?
I guess the company in general. We'll start there and then feel free to obviously fill in your role and probably the last couple of years.
So my great-great-grandfather came from Havana, Cuba, late 1800s, moved to Ybor City like so many people, started working at the Florida Brewery. And at that time, Florida Brewery was helping people open saloons to sell their beer. It's rather ingenious. And so he opened the Columbia Saloon, ultimately. And it was actually 1903 we found out when we were celebrating our 100th anniversary.
Wow.
We had a historian who was verifying that we were the oldest restaurant in the state of Florida. And he told my dad, Richard, I've got good and bad news. And my dad's like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, which one do you want first? He said, give me the good news. The good news is you are 100 years old. The bad news is you missed your anniversary.
Oh, wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
And we also couldn't change the name of the salad either at that point.
Yeah. No, I mean, staple.
So if you ordered a 1905 salad without tomatoes, that's a 1903 salad.
Ah, okay. There you go.
So we actually opened across the street from the Columbia that everyone knows and loves.
Okay.
Burnt down. My great-great-grandfather.
So the parking lot then?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And so he rebuilt, and at that point, his eldest son jumped in, Casimiro Jr., my great-grandfather, and we grew room by room, and we now are 15 dining rooms, or 52,000 square feet in total, the whole city block. We were the first air-conditioned dining room in the city of Tampa. It came right after the Tampa Theater. So, and then we grew from that one restaurant to the 13 restaurants, and the rest is history.
That's incredible. And looking back, this kind of came upon me now, 1903, 1905, those early 1900s. Your family went through, the Great Depression, went through
Spanish flu,
survived
COVID now.
Yeah, COVID, World Wars, like all of these incredible
Prohibition
things.
too.
Prohibition, I was going to say as well. All of these different things. Ybor City in general, it gets a crazy place. So
I know the highs and the lows that have come with Ybor City.
Yeah, and it's it's incredible if you think about that long history that you guys have flourished. It's truly incredible. So What is it like, and I guess this kind of goes into you, what is it like to be a part of a company and have your kind of namesake belong to an organization with such rich history?
It's something, and this is the way I usually respond. It's something I always took for granted. It was something I just grew up in, and I didn't realize the depth of it until I think I started working for the company and realizing what a huge impact we've made in the community, how much we continue to make an impact in the community. And stories like the story you shared with me, how people come in and they have all of their special occasions with us, whether it be big or small, to make that kind of impression on individuals, on that many individuals, is it's hard to digest, and it's a true honor.
Yeah, we were talking about what she was referring to. So actually, when I passed the bar, I went to lunch with my mom and my now wife. She was my girlfriend then, and we went to the Columbia. That's where I wanted to go. And then when my sister turned 21, her pre-party, I guess we'll call that, was also at the restaurant, the Ybor location. And then I didn't even tell you this. I have young children, and I remember probably within the last year, we drove down to Sarasota. We wanted to just go, rip down there for the day. And I said, why don't we obviously go grab lunch at St. Armand's at your restaurant down there, which is awesome, by the way. It's like almost like circular, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful area. We'll kind of focus in a little bit more on Tampa. So you've obviously, I would imagine, born and raised.
Born and raised. I've never left. Went to USF. I literally have never left.
What is it like to witness how Tampa has transformed, throughout, whatever time period you want to look at?
I made a great analogy the other day when I was doing a video for Visit Tampa Bay that Tampa has almost grown up with me. So when I was younger, when I was growing up, there was no convention center. I watched the convention center get built. I watched the Strauss Center get built. Obviously the Riverwalk is new. I've seen all of these great changes and these additions that have come to Tampa, witnessed them with my bare eyes. And, and I look at my daughter, she's 16, and she probably looks at Tampa and thinks it's always been like that. But it's beautiful to see how we've evolved and how we continue to evolve and even continue to grow, because you see the development of Seminole Heights, the development of Tampa Heights. And now we're going to start seeing the development, the Fowler and Fletcher area because of what's happening at USF and the new stadium. And we still have so much room for growth in the urban setting of Tampa.
It's incredible. And I can say I grew up in Apollo Beach, which is kind of a little suburb outside of Tampa. And just looking, it was... Tampa was so, how do I say it? Like, there were certain places you didn't go. You
used to not go downtown.
Yeah, you used to not go downtown. Same thing with St. Petersburg and things like that. And it's just a place that there's so many places now that I feel comfortable taking my children, even where you guys have like Eulalie, for example. That 10 years ago,
there was nothing there.
And that probably wasn't a good idea to go down there.
It was not a safe place.
Yeah,
but now you have so many different districts.
We're down there
what's happened in West Shore, and look at Midtown. There are so many great options to take your family.
So shifting over, obviously, if you watch the news or you're a human being at this point, that there's some changes in the economic climate, obviously since post-COVID and things like that. How do you guys navigate that? Whether it's dealing with employees or dealing with infrastructure, or dealing with getting products and food prices, labor costs, et cetera.
So after COVID, I think everyone experienced unprecedented times. It was hard to find employees. A lot of people were scared to come back to work.
Yeah.
We do have so many wonderful, loyal employees. About 30% of our employees have worked for us for over 10 years.
That's insane.
Which in our industry is insane.
Nobody can say it. Probably very few can say that.
Which is such a blessing. So I think we've seen that change, and we've been able to, I'm saying the terms of, staffing, that has leveled out. We've gotten really good when it comes to food costs, because that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we have. Everyone sees the prices increasing at Publix and at all the grocery stores. And the same thing's happening at the restaurant level, if not even more. So we are very fortunate that our food distributor, Gordon Food Service, family-owned business, huge though, they are great partners. We have so many contracted pricings. They work with us so that way we can always maintain our quality, because we don't want to cut what we're giving our customers.
No.
We're not going to buy a lesser product because it's a better price and we'll be able to, make more money. It doesn't matter. We always want to give that quality product. And through our partnership with Gordon, we'll able to do that. Even construction prices. we've looked at projects that we want to do, and we're always growing, and we have so many projects on the table right now. We've hired someone internally who helps us mitigate that. We have another wonderful partner through Summerfield Construction. It's relationships. The relationships have what it made it easier for us. But the most important thing is we're trying not to pass it off to the customer. We don't want to be so overpriced that people don't want to come, or they only want to come on special occasions. We want people to come just for the heck of it on a Saturday and feel like they're going to be able to, and it's not going to, rape the bank of all their money.
Of course. I think you really hit on something that, a lot of people, whether you're starting a business, whether you're established business, when you're growing, or even when you're solo individual and then growing, it is about, your network, and it is about your relationship. And whether it's on a larger, level where you're dealing with a distributor, a food distributor, or something like that, or even if it's a smaller level where you're just finding a quality bookkeeper, those relationships are paramount if you want to continue to grow and you want to continue to have success.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I actually met you. This is the first time, obviously, meeting you in person, but I'm sure you hear this all the time. I met your father. We served on a board of trustees at St. Leo University. And what is it like? And I believe your mother's very involved as well in the organization.
She's not involved at all.
I met her, at graduation.
She was always just a stay-at-home mom. That was her job.
Okay, that's awesome. So, what is it like? Just like learning from him, and I imagine that started at a young age, being around this, and then just tell me about that relationship.
So growing up, I didn't get to see my father a lot because he worked a lot, and I had my mom at home with me. People say, "Do you speak Spanish?" I didn't speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish because my father wasn't home, and he was the only one who spoke Spanish, so I didn't have the opportunity. And he would go to work, and he would work really long hours, and I didn't know what he did. I just knew he was going to a restaurant, had no idea what he did. And then as I got older, the relationship started developing. Honestly, when I think my father and I got the closest, when we truly got to where we are now, is when we started training for marathons together.
Okay. That's really cool.
We had a lot of quality time together. Yeah. He dangled a carrot in front of me, and he said,
maybe some stressful time.
He goes, if you run, the first one we did was Rochester, Hartford, and then we did New York. He goes, if you run these 3 with me, I'll take you to Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going to run the Stockholm Marathon.
That's awesome.
And I ended up doing 10 marathons in total. He's at something like 24 and 25.
Wow.
And we weren't fast. So we had a lot of time to talk.
I get it. Yeah.
And those long runs, I learned so much from him. I learned so much about him. And that was about when I was starting to work in the corporate office. Because even when I started working for the company, I was in the restaurants. And so I didn't see my parents a lot because I was working really long hours like my dad used to do. And when I came over to the corporate office, that's when he truly started becoming my mentor, and I had the opportunity to learn from him. And every day I'm learning something from him, and we can get very heated with each other because we're both very strong-minded. Yesterday, he sat me down in his office. We were kind of having this heated debate about white wine and how it should be chilled. And he said, Andrea.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, he goes, Andrea, he goes, before you get worked up, just hear me. So we've learned how to talk with each other and rationalize with each other. And sometimes we don't get along, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, he's always going to be my dad.
That's amazing. It was kind of similar with me and my father. So my father was in real estate, and he worked for a large auto parts company. So I don't know, Discount Auto Parts, when we were in the 90s and the 2000s. So they were in like 10 states, so throughout the Southeast. So there was days like, I would see him on Saturday. He would come home. We would hang out a little bit. Sunday, he's prepping. He's back on the road on Monday. So that was very normal for me as well. Luckily, I turned out okay. At least I'd like to think so. But I didn't really. And the point that I'm making is the long hours and what you saw him do and the work that he put in. Do you think that helped you and prepared you for success? Like, this is what it takes to make it happen.
Absolutely. I mean, so his blood work, his sweat and tears, everything has gone into our company, and I appreciate that so much. And so I look at how hard he worked and how hard I've worked, and now I'm looking at my daughter who says she wants to do the same thing, and I'm like, oh no,
it's incredible.
Because this
Sixth generation,
but this generation, you always wonder.
Don't get me started.
Are they going to be ready to work? Because I used to work 12-hour days.
Yeah,
I'm sure my father worked many 12-hour days. Is she going to be able to pull it off?
Yeah.
Is she? And I'm hoping by her looking at me like I looked at my father, she's going to have that work ethic, and that she is going to be willing to do it. But at the same time, I also know how to turn it off, where my father doesn't know how to turn it off.
I fail at that. My wife, she watches all the episodes. She will agree with you 100%. Stay out of the comments, honey. I'm horrible. My wife can do it too, and maybe it's one of the many ways that women are superior to men.
It may be a mom thing.
Yeah,
like you have to turn it off
yeah.
when you get home because you have to be a mom.
Yeah, for me, I and this sounds horrible, and my wife and I have had many conversations. So she said to me this week, she goes, when our she'll be turning 1 in November, she goes, when's the last time you've seen Emma? And I said, I think Monday. And because she goes to bed at 8 o'clock. Yeah, and I'm like, I think Monday or Tuesday, and yesterday was Thursday. And here's, I kind of, and we have an understanding, and, I hope I can, again, pass that on to my kids too. It's like, listen, when we do things together, I've said I can be home at 5 o'clock. I can't do what I'm doing though. I can't build what I'm building. So there's going to be some sacrifices. I'm not some tech wizard that can do AI right now, not yet, or anything like that. But on the weekends or when we take vacations, we are going to have the most insane, incredible experiences. We do a Disney a lot. When we go to Disney, we're going to do it up. When we go here, we're going to do it up. So that's kind of the give and take.
You're balancing it.
We're trying,
that sounds like you're doing pretty good then.
I'm trying, yeah. So needless to say, we're going to be spending some quality time together this weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think, but seeing my father, and I explained that to her, that was normal as a kid. Like my dad on the phone on a Saturday, cutting a deal, putting out a fire, doing this, doing that, whatever, or Monday night, like
it was doing what they had to do to get it done.
But I thought it was awesome too.
Yeah.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
They're kind of a superhero when you're little and you're looking at him.
I'm like, he's on the phone. And this is when he had like beepers. Like, dude, he's got this beeper. I remember when he got the first BlackBerry, and I thought, like, my dad has a BlackBerry. Like, he must be super. And that was really cool.
That's hysterical.
So you were talking about like the wine, for example, and the attention to detail that the group has and your father has and things. I remember I shared with you a story when we were at a meeting together, and before that he was talking to me about the science behind the Cuban sandwich and how the mustard had to go on a certain way and the meats had to be placed a certain way. Tell me about the attention to detail and how that's passed on and
the Cuban sandwich is the perfect example of it. And that also goes back to us putting always superior product in anything we do. So it was probably 15 years ago, maybe longer, because time's going by way too fast. He goes, we're going to reinvent the Cuban sandwich. We're going to make a better Cuban sandwich. And I looked at him. I'm like, how are we going to make it better? I'm like, it's already really great. No, we're going to buy better product. And I'm like, but Daddy, that's the food cost. He goes, doesn't matter. I want to make it better. And that's when we started roasting our own ham. We roast our own pork. We mojo marinate
it. So you went all in, like, yeah.
All in.
Yeah, not just like, oh, let's see different.
We made sure, yes. No, we were doing all of that. We buy the salami that's got the peppercorns in it. And gosh knows if the other day he bit into a Cuban and he goes, someone changed the salami.
No way.
Yes.
I believe it though.
And it had been subbed out because it wasn't available.
Okay.
And we picked one that we thought was acceptable, and it was not acceptable.
Really not.
He started raising hell with GFS. We need to find a better sub. But he can bite a Cuban sandwich and know if it's not layered right either.
Wow. That's incredible.
You gotta go.
I get it though.
Yeah, ham, pork, salami, Swiss cheese, and then mustard only on one side and 2 pickles.
Yep.
And it is that attention to detail, and he has that beautiful palate that he can tell. I've got a great palate, but if I bite into a Cuban sandwich, it just tastes like a Cuban sandwich.
I feel like I've gotten a better palate, but I mean, I could eat McDonald's one day and Wagyu the next. So
I'm the same way.
Don't go by me. I mean, I'm more of I listen to the belly rather than the brain. So tell me, talking about obviously about food, you have an incredible menu, and this was the fun question that I talked about. If there was one thing on your menu that you had to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I always lean into paella, and paella is one of those indulgent, like,
it's a staple.
I don't allow myself to eat it that often.
My mom and my wife always split it.
Yes, it's so good. And people are like, how can you not eat the Cuban bread? I'm like, if I ate everything I wanted to eat at the restaurant, I would weigh 500 pounds.
There's not enough marathons.
No, there's not. I can't run enough miles. I always lean into a good paella, and it's something that I love to make at home. My parents had been gone for 4 weeks, and I said, Daddy, how about you come over Saturday and I'll make you a paella de pollo? And he's like, that sounds amazing. It's comfort to me. It's home to me.
I keep it. I do the black bean soup. Okay. I do the crab cakes, and then my wife usually gets the paella, or sometimes we'll switch it up, or sometimes we'll just go straight tapas, the black bean cakes.
Oh, I love doing tons of tapas.
Yeah, like we'll do that route. The shrimp, I think. I mean, there's like
I get it. I always get
We'll
different
just order
things.
6 or 7 things and just go in for it. So everything's incredible. Kind of switching gears a little bit. So we talked about your family's rich history in Tampa. Do you feel a greater responsibility to uplift the community and to, I guess, properly market the community because you guys have such deep roots here?
Ultimately, and this is what I always say, we have to give back to a community that has supported us for 120 years,
Incredible.
for over 120 years. So giving back and doing philanthropy, even before I even knew what the word philanthropy meant, it was just something that we did. It is something that has been inbred in us. And so like through the community harvest, my father created it 25 years ago. And it was a way that we could give back to in 1 year, give back in 1 month to 50 nonprofits, over 50 nonprofits. And we've given $4 million back to this date.
That's incredible.
And that's just a small glimpse of what we do, but it's so rewarding.
That's a massive impact, though.
And they're so grateful. And it's such an honor to be able to do it because not everyone can do it. And if we stop doing it, then we wouldn't be ourselves.
I've done charitable endeavors in different ways. Sitting on the boards is fun. You get behind the infrastructure and things like that, but you don't get, I guess, the same impact. I love being on the ground. We had a young boy that was, I believe he was 9 years old. He was dealing with some significant health issues throughout his life, and he loved cars. So somebody approached us and said, "Hey, will you guys help us put on a car show?" We did the law firm, and I like to think I'm a tough guy. When this little boy pulled up and got out of the car, I mean, hey guys, I need a second real quick. I'm like, it was incredible. And, I think I encourage, much like you guys have done, you guys do the boots on the ground and really give back and meet these people that you're supporting and helping and things like that.
When you can see it like you saw it, that's when...
Oh, it's incredible.
That is when you truly know why you're doing it. My husband and I just did 3 scholarships at USF. And
wonderful.
Meeting these young people that many of them are first-time college attendants. No one in their family's ever gone to college. Seeing them and knowing that you're giving them an opportunity to get an education, that's when you know this is what you're supposed to be doing. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it, but it's those moments that keep you going.
There was so many people that I was able to, like, especially in college and things like that, that I was able to connect with that gave back their time and that are mentors today that, I don't think we all even realize. And I try to place myself back there as that young kid with a skater bowl cut. And that these people shaped our lives. So I always encourage boots on the ground. I always encourage speaking to young people. I always encourage, not only giving back, but seeing what you're giving to. Don't just donate to the hospital, which is incredible. That's amazing. Go visit.
But it is about giving your time. And I was on a panel last week, and it was, if you don't have the money, give your time. And sometimes your time is more valuable than anything else. And something else my father always says is, if it didn't hurt, you didn't give enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the same thing with money or your time.
We made a donation last year to St. Leo, and I called my wife and I said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know." And she's super chill and stuff like that. And she gets my passion there. And I said, "Hey, we're gonna donate, blah blah blah." And she's like, "Are you sure? Like, these are, we're young, we're 34. I mean, we're younger. We have young kids and stuff like that." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "If you're asking me if I'm sure, then I'm more sure than ever." Because very similarly, if it's a number where we're like, "Oh man, that's a couple bucks," then
it makes you scared. It makes you nervous.
But you work harder.
Yes, you do.
And that's what it's about. And for me, very similarly, I've had so much, fortune in my life, and I, not just from a monetary standpoint, but just, so many good things happen that I think it's the very least I could do to try to bring somebody else up. Time's changing. How do you maintain the culture at the organization?
So I think the culture ultimately is the fact that the family is still so involved and that we're always there. I mean, my dad and I were last night at the restaurant and walking through the dining room during lunch, getting to know your employees, making the effort to know their names, know what's going on in their life, knowing if they have children. I think that passes on to them, and therefore it gets passed on to every single customer that comes in the door.
I think showing that you care is so important and so undervalued. And that's why, a lot of people say, I love psychology and the psychology of business, and I have a great team, and I want to keep these people, and I want to keep them happy, and I want to support them, and I want to do what I can for them and their families and things. And I think it would be very surprising if you really looked into it. Most people probably don't leave a company because of money. It's because they're not being valued or they're not being appreciated or they're not known. It's so much more than that now.
It's easier to leave if you're anonymous.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then no one cares. No one will know I'm gone.
And that's more important now than with the younger generation. And I tell people, when we're hiring, younger paralegals or front desk staff and people just starting and that we hope to grow into, the next generation in our law practice. And I tell other friends as well, I was like, you can't just shower somebody with money these days. This generation doesn't respond to that. They want to be valued. They want their opinion heard. They want to be listened to. They want a couple holidays. Listen, they care way more about, and I say this, it's not everybody, but the XXX bonus rather than being able to go to Mexico with their friends for a weekend.
It's true.
For one weekend.
Or be able to be home with their family on a Christmas morning.
Correct.
It's those moments. It goes back to us trying to give time to our family and not just have work be our life.
Correct. How do you deal with challenges within the business? Is there a process that you go through or is it just, I'm horrible. I put up fires as they come. I can only be so proactive. So I'm just like, I'm probably more reactive. So how do you deal with things?
You troubleshoot, and it's always something different.
Yeah.
And I am fortunate that I still have my dad working with us, and he is still our president, and so he puts out a lot of fires.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay.
No, he handles it, and I don't think he would want it any other way. But he has been traveling a lot, and so when he's gone, my cousin and I try to sit and talk it out. We've got an amazing COO who my daughter calls him Uncle Kurt. He's been with us for over 30 years.
Amazing.
So we have got so many great people that we can bounce ideas off of. My rule is you never say yes and no, yes alone, and you never say no alone.
Wow. Okay.
It keeps you safe.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I never thought of it that way. I always try to ask different opinions. So I'm very fortunate. My law partners are all, I think the next oldest is like 47. So everybody's been practicing over 20 years. So I'm the young buck.
You're the baby.
Yeah. So, I'll go to them and I'll say, hey, I have this going on or that going on. Just let me get your thoughts. And sometimes I'll get giggles when I first joined up there. And I'm like, what do you, they're like, Kevin, really? Like we've dealt with this 9 times before, like this,
because
and this.
they've been doing it so much longer than you though.
But it's so relieving that you have, like you said,
Yes.
a team around you that you can okay, it's not just all following on me. And for those people that I don't care what anybody says, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a business.
100%.
A successful one.
Yes.
I mean, I don't care how, I don't even know how involved Jeff Bezos is, but you're telling me he didn't have advisors when he's making,
No kidding.
for example, multi-billion-dollar decision. Why are we going to paint? Should we paint the trucks gray? Should we you know what I mean? I don't think he's just like gray,
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you handle, and you kind of talked about familial disagreements within the business?
So my father and I usually 85% of the time we get along beautifully, but there are the times where we don't get along, where we can flat out get into screaming matches, which everyone jokes that I'm the only one that can talk to him like that and not get fired.
That's awesome. I feel like that's the healthiest relationships.
And
I mean, the passion.
Well, and sometimes I tell them, I do it when I'm talking to other employees, I do it because you can't do it.
Yeah.
And so I love to stand up for other people, get what they want across to my dad. And we will flat out not be speaking to each other. But then when I go home, I live next door to him. And I know everyone's always like, wait, what?
Okay.
I live next door to him as well. And so I walk over probably almost every afternoon to see my mom. And
That's
he's
cool.
generally there. And when I'm at home, he's my dad.
Has this been for a consistent period of time?
I've lived there for 20 years.
Okay,
over
so
20 years.
so they've been able to be around the kids though.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's huge.
And I was a single mom for a while, so
Okay.
it was such a huge blessing that I'd be like, go see Mimi and Pop Up, and we'd run over because all we have is a gate that protects us from each other.
That's so cool. we go back and forth. We have a great relationship with both our moms and dads, and we're very fortunate that they're all still alive. And we've talked about getting a casita or something like that in the next house. And I'm like, well, should we get 2 so each mom has her own space and stuff like that? But they've been a lifesaver with helping with the kids.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so helpful. And obviously having 2 young kids, as I'm sure you remember, it's like, man, I just need 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I would be like, Mommy, please, can I just bring her to her?
Yeah.
And she'd be like, yes, or I'll come get her.
We have an event next week, and I called my mom yesterday. I was like, hey, our sitter can't make it. And she's like, I'd love to. This, I'm so glad you called. And
yes.
I'm like,
I'm going to be that type of grandmother. I'm going to be like, bring them to me, please.
Bring them all. So this is a little bit of a sensitive topic. So, feel free to, however you want to handle this or not talk about it. So Ybor City has had some, we'll call them ups and downs.
That's a very nice way to put it.
There's a lot of moving parts. So how do you, and let me add this to it, but you guys have always kind of been at your like own
We're the bookend.
Yeah.
We're the bookend.
So like, how do you guys kind of deal with that, I guess?
So Ybor City is something I'm very, very passionate about. I've been on the Ybor City Chamber of Commerce.
You're president?
Board. I'm the chairman of the board.
That's right, yeah.
Second time. I was in 2012, and now this year I'm the chairman of the board. My grandmother and both of my grandparents loved Ybor City, grew up in Ybor City. But yes, I mean, it started with urban renewal when they put I-4 in, and that's when Ybor City was a ghost town. I had my 13th birthday party on a Friday night in the cafe at the Columbia restaurant because we didn't use that dining room because we were so slow because it was a ghost town. And I kind of say Ybor keeps on going.
So this is the 90s probably?
Yes.
Okay.
I was born in 79, so yeah. Do the math.
90s for accurate, or we can say, a couple years ago.
So, it was a while ago. It was a hot minute.
But
and I say Ybor keeps on kind of going through this renaissance. And then the renaissance looks different every time it does it.
It does, yeah.
In the late 90s, we all know, then it became Ybor City. Friday, Saturday nights, Thursday nights when you were in college.
Yep, I remember.
It was a great place. And thought that was super exciting. And it kind of worked out for the age I was.
Yeah.
And then that kind of dropped off. And now a lot of the bars that are still there aren't necessarily great for Ybor City. And it's not promoting what we want Ybor to be. Then we started seeing the businesses moving in, which was super great. Seeing more restaurants. And now what Daryl Shaw's doing with Ybor, and especially with Gasworks now being at the other bookend.
He just went whoosh, like, let's do this thing.
I admire him so much.
Yeah.
Adore that man. And the plan he has for Ybor, the fact that he loves Ybor so much. And he's relatively new to our community.
He is, yeah. It's
a beautiful thing.
Because I've been in the area, like I said, and I never, asked. I even asked some friends, and they're like, "Oh, the Blue Pearl guy," because that was what he was.
That
was his business.
Was
and
his
then
thing.
all of a sudden, I guess over the last decade, but watching another podcast, I guess he had owned real estate there on and off.
He's playing Monopoly. He's playing real life Monopoly, and he has acquired so much property. And we worked with him on different properties, and he sees we have a common goal. And what's going to happen in Ybor in this next decade is going to be so exciting.
That's amazing.
And we're just trying now to reinvest back into Ybor as well. We've got a couple properties that we have under construction, that one of them we're still trying to figure out what to do, which is the Reina building, which is across the street from the Columbia. And then the Naviera Coffee Mill, which is a couple blocks down, which we would love to see a beautiful like Italian market.
Yeah.
Something.
I remember I talked to your dad about that because I'm a big fan of Mazzaro's.
Okay.
So in St. Pete, I used to go there when I was an intern because I could get a sandwich and a drink for $10. So,
no shame in that.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was a big fan of Mazzaro's, but yeah, we talked about that. I mean, I think that would be incredible for the area.
Well, because
I don't think there's anyone else around.
Well, and that's the thing with all the residents that are already there, and then all the residents that are still to come. Really, the only thing that's missing in Ybor is a market.
Yeah,
something that you can walk to and go grab a sandwich, or you can go, buy something for dinner that night. That will just make it. You don't have to leave the community then.
The more that you get people to stay there outside of the, I guess, party culture is obviously going to be the better for, getting families, getting people, because, again, I think people miss the concept. Obviously, maintaining the culture is number one. Number two is if people are not spending money there, obviously it's not thriving.
Yes.
And they're going to be more likely to spend money there if they live there.
Absolutely.
Have resources, things like that.
And ultimately, when this whole master plan evolves and happens, we're no longer going to be the bookend. We're going to be somewhere in the middle, which will be great.
That'd be great for you
So
guys.
it's supposed to go all the way to the crosstown connector, which that's 7 more blocks of Ybor. And that's
wild.
really where it's supposed to be heavy, heavy residential, which is so exciting.
I remember my parents were kind enough to expose us to a lot of things, and I grew up skateboarding, so the skate park of Tampa. Obviously, you probably know Brian Schaefer.
I know, but okay.
Yeah, so he owns he owns the skate park, and then he owns the bricks on the other.
Okay, I know exactly. Yes.
So I remember when Ybor was masquerades.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So and the castle and things like that. So we won't the senator. But yeah. Yeah, the shoe liquor.
Decade.
Yeah, the shoe liquor. Yeah. We there was some we've seen Ybor's culture in a lot of different lights. So, by the way, anything I'm telling you, don't look up any of this. So
I encourage you to actually look it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
It'll give you a good laugh.
The senator was, that
I
was
have many pictures with the senator.
Yeah, it was. There were some folks down there, but
characters. They were characters.
Yeah. But GameWorks was down there. So
Yes.
we used to go down there. I mean, Central Ybor was thriving.
That was great. I love.
We went to the movie theater.
The movie theater
Because it was the first one with the recliner seats.
Yes,
we
would bring our boat to Channelside, or now it's Water Street.
Yeah.
We would park it, we'd jump on the trolley, and we'd go to the movies in Ybor.
Yeah.
And it was so awesome. It made me so sad to see the movie theater leave.
Yeah, there was so many. I mean, we were regulars at GameWorks. Our parents, they weren't big. I don't know why they always hated on Chuck E. Cheese, but they're like, we'll take you to GameWorks.
I think all parents hated Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, that was another group of characters. But yeah, I mean that was one of the renaissances that you were talking about when I was, that's probably 15, 20 years ago.
That was around the bar time.
And
100%.
that was awesome. And Ybor was kind of thriving, and then it kind of went to that, that digression, and that's
when the businesses started coming in.
Correct.
And now you see what they've done with Central Ybor, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And it's full again, which is exciting. And so we're on the upswing.
But now it's going to go, instead of this, it's going to do.
It's going to do that.
It's going to be a rocket ship.
Yes.
So, what do you want, and kind of encompassing with that, kind of leading this generation? Is it you and your brother and your cousin? Or?
No, it's just my cousin.
Okay. So
yeah,
just
I have
a
sister who I joke she never came back from her last maternity leave.
Okay. Smart.
She's retired.
Good for her. Smart cookie. We're just gluttons for punishment. So, what do you want to accomplish?
People always say, what are you going to do to leave your mark? I just want to make it and not be the one that it fails.
Yeah.
I want to pass it off to the 6th generation. No, but we are in such an exciting time because we're not going to have the challenges that my grandparents had. We're not going to have the challenges that my father had.
What does that mean? Tell me that.
So they dealt with the urban renewal, my grandparents. And then my father, he's the one who he saved our company.
Mm-hmm.
When my grandfather passed away, we found out we hadn't paid our sales tax. And so my father was going to go to jail potentially.
Okay.
He went up to Tallahassee. And
this is in the 80s?
This was the late 80s, early 90s. My grandfather, so early 90s.
I do my research, folks, by the way.
My grandfather passed away in 91 or 92. And he told my mom, he goes, Melanie, I could go to jail today.
Mm-hmm.
And the restaurant was not doing well. Everyone told my father, just declare bankruptcy. You're not going to make it. And we hadn't paid Henry Lee, who was our food distributor at the time. We had back bills with them. And my father went and he literally met with every single one of our vendors. And I get goosebumps thinking about it. And when he went to go meet with them, they thought my father was going to offer him pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, I'm going to pay you back every single penny that I owe you. Exactly what I owe you. And he made all of that happen.
Wow.
So he brought.
Rather, he probably said, hey, ride with me.
A crumbling, and he just lost his dad.
Yeah.
A crumbling business. And his goal was to build it back up to the great glory that he remembered it from when he was younger. And he did just that. So it's going to be hard to top what he has accomplished. So, I look that my cousin and I have the opportunity to watch Ybor grow and maybe do the market. We've tooled around with the idea of maybe doing a boutique hotel across the street.
Love that.
I want to make sure the Columbia maintains what people expect out of it. I want everyone to come and have a wonderful experience. And I want to be able to pass it off to that 6th generation. And it may not seem like big goals, but it's very intimidating. So that's as simple as it is.
We so my firm has been around for 3 generations. My partner Ian Levingood was his grandfather that started, and I believe he was the judge. I think it's dated back, I want to say like 1968. So I'm kind of the next generation, I guess, non-familial, but the one that's carrying the torch. And I think about these things like how do I leave my mark? How do I celebrate this firm? Because I really do care about the rich history. I mean, there's only so many law firms, because a lot of times people just, when lawyers pass away, they turn off the lights. That's it. There's no carrying the torch. And I think very similar to you, it's not as much about going like, bam, I did this. It's more about like, hey, let's just keep getting incrementally better while maintaining the culture.
Absolutely.
And I think that's more of a success, is if you can carry it on, like you said, through another generation. I think that's as good as saying, "Oh my gosh, we did this." Probably
I agree.
better.
I completely
Why are
agree
you gonna,
with you.
why reinvent the wheel?
And I appreciate the validation.
Yeah,
Thank
unless
you.
there's, and I think, yeah, I mean, so many people are like looking for that dare to be great moment, and I think that's in all businesses, even to a compass, whether it's big or small. And maybe it's like, hey, why don't you just be a little bit better every day?
Yeah, I don't need.
And don't forget where you came from.
Yes, I don't need someone to say, "Good job, that's awesome what you did."
Yeah.
I don't mind just sitting back and making sure we keep on doing what we're doing.
We're
like
at
you said.
30 locations now. It's
Yeah,
like,
but we don't even want to do that,
yeah,
because
and
people
that's
are like, "Are you
17
gonna
more headaches.
Well,
Yeah.
we could expand, but if you're not taking care of what you already have, then what's the point?
I agree. I agree completely. And I'll kind of wrap up and end with this. What was some of the best advice that you've received from anybody, and how did it kind of change your life?
It's a saying my father says, and I always quote my father. So many of my stories are of him or his stories that I share. If you're coasting, you're going downhill.
Okay.
When you think everything is great and you sit back and you're just going on vacation, that's when things start slipping. The day that I decide I'm not going to go into the restaurant, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, is I'm not showing my face. I don't want a server to say, "Well, there is a family, but we never see him," because I've heard that before and it hurt really, really deep. So you gotta stay on top of it. You always have to stay on top of it.
It's crazy how fathers in business. So my dad, and as I said, wasn't in my business, but he understands, what I do, and we talk about it.
Business is business,
yeah,
ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, sales, business, all that kind of goes together, and it's usually on like Friday or Saturday. I try to call him in every day and stuff as they're getting older. My mom, and I'll get the same thing. How many clients did you call this week?
Yeah.
How many cases did you sign up? How many cases did you settle? Well, why did you do more last week? I'm like, Dad, how did you remember how many I did last week? He's like, I'm asking the questions here. But it's like, well, what did you do differently? Did you stop by this place? How many places did you go, Mark? How many networking events did you do this and that?
Yeah.
It's like,
but it's good that our parents are holding us accountable.
But that's what leads to the success. It's like, as soon as you start kind of letting your foot off the gas and saying, you know what? I'm going to go to Hawaii this month. And
no one will know I'm gone.
No. And then it's like, and then you come back to 19 fires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, always with the balance, I think, but it's a different kind of balance.
It is.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm obviously going to put the group's contact information. How would you like to be contacted, or the Columbia group, things like that? The website, your Instagram.
You don't know, and no social media.
Oh, okay.
I keep my social media personal.
No, not yours. I was talking about the organization.
Yeah,
so I wasn't talking about you.
We're on
Forgive me.
Instagram.
Yeah.
We're on TikTok.
Okay.
We're obviously on Facebook.
I'll tag all of those.
I guess we're on Twitter or whatever you call it now. I didn't even know that because I don't tweet.
Elon.com, yeah.
No, you can always get in touch with any of us.
Okay, perfect. So I'll make sure that I put your different socials for Columbia Restaurant Group. Again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. And as always, guys, please like and subscribe. And this was an incredible episode. Again,
thank you so much for
My
having
pleasure.
me.
We'll talk soon.